So I'm joined by the lovely Leanne Cooper. Coops, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm really good, thank you. I'm excited to be here. We've been talking about this for ages, haven't we?
We have, it's been nearly a year, and to be fair, that's my tardiness.
Oh,
But
we're
we
here
made
now.
it. We made it onto season two, which is fantastic. And it's so worthwhile. I've wanted you on this podcast for a while because the problem that you solve is what my clients struggle with the most. And you're an absolute expert in this area. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to leave the viewers with some like understanding of why it's so damn difficult for us to put ourselves out there, whether that's going for a job, whether that's going for like, going out to client meetings, like promoting yourself, promoting your offer, selling. We have such a problem with self promotion.
We really, really do. And it's something that I see such a lot in my work. So I'm a career advancement coach for women. So I support women to get hired, promoted and paid more for the brilliant work that they do. So this is a topic I'm massively passionate about because I see it day in, day out. And a hill that I will die on is that self-promotion is important if you want to get ahead in your career. There is no two ways about it. So finding a way to do it that feels authentic to you, that you can adapt to your style is massively, massively important. But most people tend to avoid self promotion like the plague, don't they? And I
Yeah.
think as well, particularly women.
Yeah, and I think you and I have spoken about this for a long time, and kind of crossed paths as well in other people's trainings and other people's like coaching groups and things, and like it's always the same stuff that comes up, isn't it? Like, oh, I don't really want to do that. What if no one comes? What if no one watches? What if this? What if no one says yes? What if I don't get it? What if? What if?
Yeah.
And it very much is. I would say more prevalent in women as well. Why do you think? Why is that? Like, what
So
happened?
I think there's just so many like negative connotations associated with the word self promotion.
Yeah,
I think if
let's
you ask
start
most
there.
people, like say the word self promotion to most people, they'll be like, oh, it's embarrassing, it's cringy, it's awkward. I don't want to feel big headed. I don't want to feel boastful, self indulgent, all of that stuff. And I get it, and it's not surprising because do you know what? We haven't been brought up encouraged to do this. I certainly wasn't taught self promotion skills at school. I don't know about you, and like I think like society
Opposite.
and cultural norms encourage us to be the opposite, to be really modest, to be quiet, to
Yeah,
blend in, to not show off, to not have people think that you love yourself and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden you're an adult and you're in an environment where you're in a job interview and you're like, go on, go sell yourself, or you're a business owner, it's like, go on, sell your products and services, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to do that. That feels really alien. That feels really, really scary. So I think we've got some work to do when it comes to like changing the association that we have with it, and that narrative that comes with self promotion, because it doesn't have to be any of that negative stuff. It's not a negative thing. Like it's that we've been conditioned to believe that self promotion is negative, but it's not. It's essential. It's just about authentically showcasing who you are, your contributions, the work that you do, the value that you add in a way that feels right for you. And if you want to get ahead, whether that's progressing in your career, whether that's getting that promotion at work, whether that's getting more clients in your business, you can't just stay quiet. You've got to promote yourself.
no, and I've seen this happen with you as well. I've seen you be quite quiet on LinkedIn. Well, you've never been quiet on LinkedIn, but like more reserved. And then the last sort of 6 months to a year, I've seen you like come out of your shell
Yeah,
and just start. This is who I'm all about. This is who I'm for. This is what I'm doing. These are the results we get. And like, I've just absolutely loved it. But I think people who have the problem and they're searching for the solution, they now get to see you. Whereas before, if you weren't posting as much or you weren't being as bold in the messaging
yeah,
through everything that you've just said there, from holding back, people don't get to see you. They don't get the help because you're not doing the things to get found, and they're
yeah.
looking and they can't see you. So you kind of cross like
Mm,
paths, and then you don't get to help them. Someone else does, and that sucks because
yeah.
really, you're the best at what you do, Leanne. I'd like people to find you. So.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Helen. And
Yeah.
you're right. And I think it's a big mindset shift for me, from when I first started my business to where I am now, is around like looking at situations and approaching them from a place of service rather than a place of ego. So in the past, I might have thought, oh, well, I want to go and post that post or talk about that thing, but what will people think of me? Whereas now, like, I don't approach it from that place. I approach it from a place of, well, if I talk about how I can help somebody, then somebody's going to see that and I'm going to be able to help them, and that's
Yeah.
a positive outcome. So it's
Yeah.
just looking at it from a completely different standpoint. I think is
Yeah.
massive, and our ego, we've all got one. It can really hold us back. It can massively stand in our way of progressing, because you talked about at the beginning, it's that what if, like what if she thinks that, and what if they say that, and what if this happens. And what we do is we let the fear of what might happen make nothing happen, and we're still
Oh
sat in the
God.
same place in 6 months' time with the same problem that we've got.
Yeah, and often the symptoms of that problem have got worse and more
Yeah,
severe, or more symptoms have come.
yeah,
So if it's a money kind of thing and like you're running out of money, like doing nothing and staying stuck, it's very unlikely that we're just going to magically get some more money that just drops in out of nowhere. You're going to have to learn how to get visible and put yourself out there so that your
yeah.
clients who don't know you yet want to pay you today. They're looking for a solution today, can actually see you, and you can get paid and they can get the help. Because in
Yeah,
the sales situation, if you think about it, when people buy, it's because they need help with something.
yeah,
And we're actually being incredibly selfish by holding the mechanism, or the vehicle of, whether it's a sales conversation, whatever it is that you offer,
yeah.
back, because we don't want to be too pushy with it. We don't want to be too forward with it. Well, people
Mhm.
can't get help. You end up helping no one, and that's really sad. It's sad for your potential clients because they don't get you, and you're pretty ace at what you do. All of you out there, you're great at what you do, but people are buying from other people who aren't so great, because they
Mm,
can't see you.
yeah,
So
I
it's
know
sad.
it really, really is, and as hard as it might feel at the time, like we can get into like some tips and stuff that people can do to
Mm,
help overcome it. But I know that it's hard, and I know that that starting point is really, really tough. But unfortunately, you will continue to massively hold yourself back if you don't do something about this, because if you can't promote yourself effectively, if you can't confidently communicate what contribution you can add to somebody's life or world or business or whatever it might be, and be vocal about that value, then what's going to happen is that, exactly like you said, you're going to be overlooked for opportunities. Somebody else is going to step in where you haven't and raise their hand and
yeah,
say, hey, listen, I can support with that, and you're going to miss out. And that, like you
yeah.
say, that's a shame, isn't it?
So, what have you got in your toolkit for us? What kind of tips have you got if like, if you're nodding along and you're like, "Oh my God, this is me. Yeah, I'm holding back. Yeah, I don't want to like put my stuff out there," but you think your stuff's pretty amazing, but
Yeah.
you've got that whole thinking about what if, and like, I don't want to. Like, what would you say are your top tips, or like a mini process of being able
Mm.
to get over this and get past it?
I think the first thing is to recognise that it's completely normal when you're doing something different, when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, for it to feel tough. Just because it feels tough doesn't mean that it's not the right thing for you. It feels
Yeah.
tough because you're doing something new. We don't get those feelings of nerves and apprehension and low confidence when we're in a comfort zone, do we? When we just sat on a sofa in this comfort zone doing the stuff that's easy to us, we don't get those feelings. So if you're feeling that uncertainty, those nerves, it's because you're stepping up. It's because you're doing something different. So it's a positive sign. It's showing you that you're pushing yourself. So it's completely normal. Everybody gets self-doubt. Everybody gets these fears. But the game-changing thing is recognizing that you don't have to listen to these fears. You have got the choice whether you let them hold you back or whether you push forward regardless. And I think the first tip that I would give to people who are listening to this or watching this and thinking, do you know what, that's me, like I know I'm not getting myself out there, is connect to your why. Unless you've got a really big, strong reason to do something, if it feels hard, we will not do it. So for us to get out of our comfort zone, for us to consistently do something that feels tough, we've got to really, really want it. And you have those conversations with people, Helen, and you remember them for like forever. They just like stick in your mind, and that person won't even remember even saying this to me. But I remember like my very first business coach speaking to her, and she'd worked with lots of other business owners, and she said, listen, Leanne, loads of businesses fail, loads. Don't let the reason that your business fails be you. Like, don't allow a situation where you look back and think, do you know what, it didn't work out, but I wonder what might have happened if I'd have said yes to that podcast invite, if I'd have started sharing that content, if I'd have sent that message to that person, if I'd have invited somebody to a call. Like, don't be that person that looks back and thinks, what if? Like, what could have been for me if only I could have got out of my own way?
Yeah.
So you need to really, really think about your why and what's important to you. And I remember having like a really tough conversation with myself around like getting myself out there. And I remember the first time like I was putting a post out on LinkedIn, I promise you, Helen, my little hand was shaking. Like I was
Yeah.
terrified.
Yeah.
Terrified. I must have
Yeah.
asked my husband to proofread it 14 times. Like, it was saved in the notes section of my phone for ages. Like my little heart was beating out of my chest, I'm telling you. I was terrified. But the
Oh my
reason that I
God.
did it is because I'd sat and I thought, you know what? I spent a year of my life retraining to be a coach, whilst at the same time juggling my corporate job, homeschooling my two children, doing volunteer work, trying to build a business when I had zero clue how to build a business, practicing coaching, studying. Like that was so, so hard for me. And I remember thinking, like, you have worked this hard, you have not come this far to only come this far. Like, come on. And like I had to give myself that massive pep talk. So connecting to your why is the first thing.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna cry. Like I'm so like, oh, like jazzed up. And this is a really, I always teach my clients this as well. Like, think of your audience, because it's so much easier to think of them than yourself. Like
Yeah,
when you think of someone else and someone else receiving what you're trying to put out, and knowing that that is enough in its current state, and you don't have to overthink. And yes, but of course, there's somebody out there that needs to hear and see this.
yeah,
So when you think of others, it's impossible to at the same time be thinking of you. So
yeah,
like think of your audience, think of someone else, and then it's off you. You're not worrying about yourself and what everyone else,
yeah.
what people are going to be thinking of you. Like you, it's impossible to do both at the same time. So
Right.
put your thoughts onto your audience.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much easier. And the why as well, the thinking of the why. Just remember, somebody out there needs to hear this stuff, and it's very selfish of us to keep it in, and it's very
Yeah.
logical for us to keep it in because your brain's trying to keep you safe. But like, look, somebody out there needs to hear and see this, so let's work on the steps needed to get it out there.
Yeah, you're right. And what you said there brings me really nicely on to the next tip that I've got, because you talked about getting stuff out there in its current state. And I think perfectionism is something that holds so many of us back. We don't feel ready. We're waiting to feel ready. We're waiting to feel more confident. We're waiting to do just one more qualification or to get a little bit more experience. And I think if you can get your head around the fact that ready is a decision and not a feeling, then that's a massive game changer as well. You need to make that decision to take the first step, even if it's a really, really tiny step. So if you think about, well, what's my ideal situation? Where do I want to get to? Where am I now? Forget about the whole entire staircase. What's the first small, even tiny, minuscule step you can take to move forwards? And for me, for ages, it was actually setting up a LinkedIn profile. I didn't even have a profile. I remember like people saying to me like, "Why are you not on LinkedIn?" I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." So the first step for me was setting up a profile. I didn't, it wasn't going on live or sharing a video or connecting with somebody. It was actually just setting up a profile. So whatever that first step is for you, you need to remember that it's not about waiting to be perfect. You get going, then you get good. You got to
Yes,
start. Like you got to start. Like if you wait to feel ready, you're waiting forever. And I know like me and you studied, didn't we, at a similar time when we did our coaching qualification. And I know that like you're probably the same. Like people that we studied with, people that we were on the same sort of courses, they're still waiting to feel ready. They're not out there
yes,
now. They're
yeah.
still waiting
Do you
to
know
feel
this?
ready.
I can picture a couple of people who are supremely
Yeah.
qualified. They
Yeah.
are so good at coaching. I remember looking at them, thinking, "Oh my God, I could only wish that I could be like even 10% of what you're operating at," and they're still like struggling in their coaching practices to get clients because they're still questioning that, like, when I get this, then I'll be okay. And like you say, it becomes a decision of you like really locking into that now. Like, I don't need anything externally to feel something because the feeling comes from what I'm thinking. So like it's
Yeah,
an inside job all the time. It's never another qualification that's going to help you, because you're going to
yeah,
get a piece of paper, but it's impossible for a thing, a piece of paper, anything to give us something. It always comes from our thinking on it. So
yeah.
this is like I find this with technical consultants, like specialists. They get so in the weeds of their like specialism in their industry that they forget that like
I know.
I've always said to people, you are more than enough for a company in its entire lifespan, from conception to like closing down and
Mm.
selling up. You are more than enough for what that business is ever going to need. So like
Yeah,
you don't need another qualification. You're going to blow their minds with like where you are right now.
yeah,
And so
exactly.
it's that kind of stuff that like, don't like anybody out there that's like, when I get another thing, then I can by all means learn, have
Yeah.
qualifications, but from the point of option and choice, and like I enjoy the learning process. I'd like to learn this thing here and I
Mm,
get like an extra qualification, not like I
yeah,
can't sell
yeah,
until, or put myself out there until I
yeah,
get that qualification.
yeah.
Like
Don't
it's
don't
such
let
a
it be a
miss.
blocker.
Yeah,
That's it, isn't it? Don't let that be a blocker for you. So yeah,
yeah,
that would be my second tip. Get going and then get good.
yeah,
And I think the third one is to put the reps in. So for something to be in your comfort zone, for you to move it from your stretch zone to your comfort zone, you have to put the reps in. And anytime you ever feel nervous or scared, or you lack confidence, it's because you haven't put the reps in. If you do anything enough times, it becomes comfortable.
yeah.
So a little example of this: when I decided that I wanted to start doing LinkedIn lives, and that was out of my comfort zone for me. So like I was fine posting, fine doing video content, so I'll just delete it and start again if I don't like it. LinkedIn lives is like another level for me. I was like, oh, that's scary. So I knew that the only way, like from the work that I've done, the experience that I've got, I know that the only way for me to get comfortable doing LinkedIn lives was doing LinkedIn lives. So I said to myself, I'm going to do one every week for 6 weeks. That I'm going to set myself that challenge. I'm going to put the reps in every week. And like the first time I was nervous, second time I was nervous, third time I was like, I'm getting all right with this now. Like it's getting a bit more. By the time I'd done 6, like I was looking forward to them. It was
Yes.
fine. It was in my comfort zone. I knew what I was doing. Like I put the reps in. So remember, if you put the reps in, then that's how you become comfortable, and you need to do it regularly as well. So like if you post content, like let's say posting content is the thing that you're scared of, if you do it once and then do it for ages, it'll build back up as a scary thing again. Get into a habit of doing it regularly, then it just becomes part of your normal routine. So definitely putting the reps in, and if you feel nervous about something, it's because you haven't put enough reps in. So yeah, they're the 3 tips. I think the first one is connect to your why, second one is get going and then get good, and then the third one is put the reps in regularly.
God, I just love all of that. I mean, that speaks to my process in how I help people get more comfortable with doing sales shit.
Yeah,
One of my clients, Emma, is absolutely nailing it at the moment. She's like, look, I've got an influx of new people. I really want to give them something. I want to start communicating with them. I think this is on LinkedIn. And so I'm going to start sending some direct messages out. I've never done DMs before. I've just taken my best guess that I think it's going to sound something like this, and it's slightly different for every message, but it took her, I think, about half an hour to get that out.
yeah.
But if you ask her how many hours and days and weeks have you sat and worried about it, like insurmountable, it would have been horrendous. So she's done it exactly like she said. Look, I don't know if this is the wrong thing to say, but I'm just going to start figuring it out as I go along.
Mm,
Why is it important? Well, look, I've just got this audience and I'd like to start connecting with them and inviting them to take the next step. And a direct message is just that. It's to that person and it's directive and it's asking them. So like,
mm,
great, save a lot of like faffing around. I can
mm-hmm.
give them a lot of value, and then I'm going to practice. And after 20, after 10, I'm going to be feeling like this is actually all right. And so she actually, I asked her on my group, how did you do this? Because everyone was like, oh my God, it's amazing. I could never do that. And I'm like, no, you can do that. But Emma, how did you do that? And she basically said your process. I figured out why it was important to do it. I forgave the fact that it wasn't going to be perfect. And I'm just thought I'm going to put the reps in because I want that good feeling after of like, I've actually done something that's challenged me. And she said
Yeah.
by 20, she was enjoying it. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, it works. Honestly, it works, and I know because I've done it myself, and I know that because I've supported so many clients through similar journeys. Like this is the stuff that works. And do you know what? Like people reach out to me now, and they'll send me a message on LinkedIn, and they'll be like, "Oh, I see you all the time on LinkedIn. You seem so confident. You're so good at it." Let me tell you now, that has not always been the case. Like I definitely started off very nervous. And if someone's to say to me like, was it worth it? Like, was it worth putting yourself out there? Like feeling awkward, feeling scared, pushing yourself out your comfort zone, like your heart beating out of your chest when you're doing new things. It absolutely is worth it, because by me getting out of my comfort zone, me getting myself out there, me sharing with the world like how I can help them, like things have transformed massively in my business, Helen. Like if you'd have said to me like 2 years ago that I would be sitting here in the place that I'm in now, I just wouldn't have believed you. But by getting myself out there, I promise you now, like so many opportunities have come my way, like in terms of like relationships, collaborating, like meeting people, lovely people like you, clients, work, partnering with organizations all around the world. I am so glad that I got out of my own way. And anybody that's listening to this, I guarantee, get out of your own way, you will be glad that you did it as well.
Oh God, that's just amazing. And I am literally like buzzing off your energy as well. Like it is on point. So like this isn't just something that Leanne and I have like Googled on Chat GPT and thought, oh, 3 things that we can like tell people to do if they're struggling. This is lived experience. Both Leanne and I have gone through this. I did this with podcasting. The first
Yeah.
Tom and I were actually Tom's in the background here. Hiya, Tom. Tom remembers the first podcast. I was sitting there with a suit on, like all, like as if I was reading the news. And I couldn't relax into it because it was my first podcast. And then
Yeah.
after episodes 2 and 3, and I got my first guest on, and again, I was really struggling on like, how do I introduce Richard? Like my first guest, like how do I do it?
Uh,
And we did it and we stumbled and we got over it. And then we're just like in it. And now it's just like not something to worry about. But you
yeah.
can't get here without being prepared to do all that stuff. You can't get this. There's no way of hop skipping over
There
that
is.
discomfort and that learning. And I think the sooner you can get on board with the process of figuring things out, taking full responsibility, if you want that result, it's not the market, it's not the time of year, it's not there's no jobs, it's not that no one's buying, it's not that there's no one that's got any money. It's your thinking on it and how you're taking full responsibility to show up and get new thoughts and new beliefs and new actions that are going to create a completely different result. That is all in your control. And I see so many people delegating that and pushing that away. And I
Mhm.
just think that's so sad because once
Yeah.
you learn that as a business owner, that's when things change. That's when you start seeing like what I said to you, something happened and you were like, boom, shown
Yeah.
up on my LinkedIn. I'm like, where's this version of Leanne been?
I'm here.
And look at all the stuff that's happening in your business financially, collaborations, results, everything's exponentially gone up. That's not
Yeah.
a fluke. That's not because you're lucky. That's not just, like that's you have created that by changing how you believe and what you've shown up with.
Yeah.
So anybody can do this work in any industry at any point in business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and coming in on the show. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you so much for having me. I've loved chatting with you. We could talk all day about this stuff, couldn't
We
we?
could, couldn't we? And we have. But where can people find you?
So I hang out mainly on LinkedIn. So I'd love for you to reach out and connect with me on there. You just find me, Leanne Cooper, on there. I have got a website if you want to have a little bit of a nosy about the work that I do. I work with women directly. So if you're wanting to look at one-to-one support for career advancement, I also have a small group program as well if you want to come together with a group of other like-minded women. And I also partner with organisations as well. So I work with a lot of industries, traditionally male dominated industries, to help them to retain and promote female talent. So you can check out my website at youfirstcoach.co.uk if you want to find out a little bit more about my work.
Oh, thank you so much. And just remind the audience why you first, because there's a reason why you've called yourself that.
Yeah, the reason why I called myself You First Coaching, it's really simple. So the relationship with yourself has more impact on your results than anything else. So that is a strong foundation that you need to build on, and so often we forget that, and we go racing off trying to find solutions externally when actually it's the work that we need to do on ourselves that's more important. If we haven't got solid foundations, we're not going to see the success that we want.
Yeah, I love that. I just really wanted everyone to hear that, because it's always an inside job. If you want new results,
Yeah,
always in here first.
it
Yeah,
really
I
is.
absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Leanne,
Oh, thanks
for
for having
joining
me.
us. And we'll see you all soon on the next episode. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Making Sales Simple, a podcast by Helen Tebay, the sales lady. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow me on Spotify for more.